Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
It's a look back at some of our favorite stories from John Deere. Find out about their great equipment and tools that can help improve your bottom line.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Auctioner. Every day, NCBA staff in Washington, D.C. work on a number of policy and regulatory issues that could impact the U.S. beef industry. We've got an update on what's happening in our nation's capital in this week's Beltway Beef Spotlight.
On May 25th, 2023, the U.S. Supreme Court issued a landmark decision in Sackett versus United States. This is the second time that the Sackett family has been to the U.S. Supreme Court over a piece of lakeside property that they bought over 10 years ago with the intent of building their dream home. However, the definition of WOTUS and the Clean Water Act has gotten in the way multiple times. And so in this case, in Sackett versus U.S., the Supreme Court considered the definition of WOTUS for the fourth time. In a unanimous holding for the Sackett family, the Supreme Court ruled that the significant nexus test, which was crafted in 2006 and was the underpinning for the Obama and Biden administration WOTUS definitions, is illegal, not only as a violation of the Clean Water Act, but as a violation of a landowner's constitutional due process rights. That's because the Clean Water Act and violations of the Clean Water Act carry with them a criminal liability and fines of up to $40,000 per day. The inability of a landowner to determine if a feature on their property is federally jurisdictional under the significant nexus test makes it quite problematic when we're considering a landowner's constitutional rights. In eliminating the significant nexus test, a majority of the court replaced it with a new standard for which features may be federally jurisdictional under the Clean Water Act. This new test, called the Continuous Surface Connection Test, means that only features that have a relatively permanent connection to traditional navigable waters and wetlands with a continuous surface connection to those features may be considered federally jurisdictional. This means that isolated features like prairie potholes, vernal pools, and playa lakes are likely not subject to federal permitting requirements, in addition to ephemeral features that only carry water after a precipitation event. This is a huge win, not only for NCBA and other agricultural associations, but landowners across the United States. So the next question is, how does this ruling impact the Biden administration's WOTUS definition? As you may recall, they finalized the WOTUS definition just a few months ago in March 2023. NCBA and a coalition of other national trade associations immediately sued the Biden administration over this final rule, and so far have gotten preliminary injunctions in 27 states across the country. Because the significant nexus test is the cornerstone of the Biden administration's WOTUS definition, they will be forced to pull that rule back. Now, are they going to do it on their own? Unlikely. But because NCBA is already positioned in federal court, we plan to request a nationwide vacatur of the Biden administration's WOTUS definition, bringing EPA back to the drawing board and forcing them to write a new definition that complies with the Sackett versus EPA holding. More to come on the definition of WOTUS, but massive progress in a unanimous holding from the Supreme Court finding that the significant nexus test is illegal, both under the Clean Water Act and the U.S. Constitution. To follow along with this and other important issues, you can go to policy.ncba.org.
You can help NCBA fight for common sense federal policies and against efforts that threaten the very future of the beef cattle industry by becoming a member of NCBA. It's easy to do. Just call 866-233-3872 or visit the website ncba.org. Be sure to use the code C2C for a special offer for viewers. This week on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we're taking a look at some of our favorite stories from our friends at John Deere. We'll head into the field for some expert advice on some tools and equipment that can improve your operation. Now, farmers and ranchers face all sorts of obstacles when raising crops, hay, and cattle. Brian Baxter visited Oklahoma to get some insights on the challenges facing one young producer.
Will Osborne and his family have been raising crops and cattle in central Oklahoma for several generations.
My family has been farming and ranching here for a long time. My great-grandfather started here about 5 miles from here on a quarter about 80 years ago, and then my grandfather grew it from there, and now I just continue on the tradition. Our biggest business is cattle, beef cattle. Grow the commercial herd and continue to grow them till their yearlings out on wheat pasture. And then we farm wheat, alfalfa, Bermuda grass, and cotton and soybeans as well.
The Osborne operation is not far west of Oklahoma City, which means there's competition for land and lots of close neighbors alongside nearly all of their pastures.
The unique challenges to this area would include, we are very, what some people would call urban farmers and ranchers. We are very close to the city. Just whenever our ancestors decided to settle down, they decided to settle down 20 minutes from what is Oklahoma City now. So we have a lot of traffic, we have a lot of, if our cows get out, they're in a housing addition, they're not in the neighbor's field. So those are things that we have to deal with personally here.
Will's cattle see plenty of weather when little grass is available through the fall and winter seasons, so putting up quality hay is essential every year for the Osborne family operation.
Our hay equipment we keep in better condition than probably anything else that we have, because hay is a unique crop in the way that if you don't get it up when you need to, the value decreases so much so quick. You can take something that was excellent quality and then it's average quality a day later and not very good 3 days later. So we try to keep good, new, modern equipment, just less breakdowns, and try to work with people that try to help us in that.
We've worked with Will Osborne for a long time. We started out with his grandfather and his dad and Will. I mean, the Osborne family has done business at this dealership for as long as I can remember. We live in the same community. We went to the same high school. Those guys do things the right way. They're big operators and they do it right. I mean, when it's the time to cut, they're cutting. When it's time to bale, they're baling. Great producer and cow-calf operator.
The Osbornes, like many others in Oklahoma farm country, rely on John Deere machinery to get the job done when it comes to cutting and baling their hay crops. And the family has continued to adopt new equipment and options that help them get consistent quality in their hay bales.
This swather that's behind me, we just picked it up. It's a swather that we are cutting hay. It's W235M, which has been good. And then we are running John Deere round balers. We round bale for our stuff almost exclusively. 460 and 560M John Deere balers.
Particularly the round baler has been a tried and true product for many years. And it's got a great pickup mechanism. You can bale windrows nearly as big as you can make them without plugging a baler. We've added tire options today. The net wrap is a key piece. It's easy to load net wrap on our balers, and again, most all of our customers run net wrap today.
Going to net wrap has been one of the best changes that has happened to modern agriculture in forever. For us, it has been huge. It just enables the hay to stay so good for a long time. Also, it makes it much easier to contain the hay. Stuff doesn't get into it as much. If you have a really wet season, the bottom of the bale is in better condition. It's much easier whenever you feed the hay. We cut off all the net wrap before we feed any hay. It's a great system.
Will says he values the reliability of the John Deere hay equipment he uses, but he knows if there ever is an issue, help is just a phone call away.
What Will expects is when he calls, I answer, and us to have the answers for him, and then have the parts he needs. Maybe we can't get there to fix it at that second, but I can tell him what he needs to do to fix it.
Customers, when they need to go, they need to go. And you know, if it's again in the hay world, whether it's hay, whether it's cutting wheat, corn, soybeans, whatever it is, when the time to go is now, it's time to go. And so we want to be there for our customers. We're on call 24/7 when it's the busy time of the year. And you know, many times these hay customers, especially, may be bailing at night because of moisture. You know, we want to be there if they need something.
John Deere is the choice for us in our hay equipment because they're the most accessible. Their local service here is just outstanding. They have all the parts that we need if something does go wrong. If we can't fix it, they will come help us. Also, huge benefit with the John Deere products, and it's a big part of the reason we use John Deere so much, is the resale and things for trade-in is substantially better than a lot of the competitors that we have dealt with.
Raising cattle is Will's favorite part of carrying on the family tradition in agriculture, a tradition that includes John Deere machinery. And most important of all, a commitment to building an opportunity for the next generation.
The best part about raising cattle in Oklahoma here is probably the way of life. Watch your kids grow up in it. The family aspect of that. It's a good feeling.
Reporting from Oklahoma, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll show you how John Deere equipment is making a difference for one Texas operation.
Matt Makin's here. In today's Weather Watch, we're talking about the wet season, off to a roaring start in May, historically so in some cases, and June following suit. What's the outlook moisture-wise for the summer in today's Weather Watch?
It is inevitable, like the rising and setting of the sun. Your gravel driveway will need maintenance. Drudgery? Never. Be the right person with the right tools doing the job the right way by watching How to Maintain a Gravel Drive Using a Box Blade with Hydraulic Scarifiers. Brought to you by tipsnotebook.com. When better how-to videos are made, we will make them.
Join the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. There are big benefits to being a member. You'll get industry news in the National Cattlemen, email updates in the NCBA Beef Bulletin, plus discounts just for NCBA members. Join by calling 866-233-3872 or online at ncba.org.
Timing is everything when cutting hay, and too much rain can cause real problems when you're trying to get hay up between storms. The team from John Deere introduced us to a Texas cattle and hay producer to see how he handled a tough, wet hay season.
In Bay City, Texas, the fields are wet again, and John Reynolds' tractor and baler are spotted with mud. It's something he's seen all too often in 2021, as he and others in the area have struggled to bale the hay they need.
So this year, at least in our area on the Gulf Coast, we've had an exceptional amount of rainfall. We had 20 plus inches in May and probably equal in June and July. And it's just rained and rained and rained.
On a typical hay season, you would get 3 to 4 cuttings per year down here. Here we are, we're nearing the end of hay season. We're in the final quarter, and most people are just working on their second cutting. The volume has been there for the most part, but the quality hasn't. And that had to do with the rain that we had this year. We weren't able to get in there, get the hay cut, and get it dried out and get it baled up before the next shower came along.
On a normal year, I will produce enough hay not only to feed my cattle, but also to have a reserve. And this past winter, unfortunately with the winter snap and whatnot, we went through our reserve. And now with all the moisture this year, it's been really difficult to try and get a minimum to what I need.
John didn't have to worry about hay early in his career when he worked away from the ranch for a time. But in 1991, he came back to manage the operation that has been in his family for 6 generations.
The Reynolds Pierce Ranch was part of a much bigger operation started by my great-great-grandfather, Abel H. Shanghai Pierce. So originally, Shanghai Pierce saw the benefit in this area of Brahman or Bos Indicus cattle. There had been a few imports prior, but he is best known for making one of the largest direct importations from India of Bos Indicus cattle to the United States. He saw the benefit because there was quite a fever tick problem with the European and English cattle that were here. He saw that they were more heat tolerant, and he felt that if we could crossbreed these animals, we'd have something far superior than either parent.
Today, the mix of breeds John uses has changed, but the goal is still to raise a high-performing beef animal that can stand up to the Texas Gulf Coast environment.
We use both Cimbra and Sim Angus bulls in conjunction with a terminal cross of Charolais. We went to Charolais, one, because they were readily available. Because of their white or light color, they're more heat tolerant. And weight per day of age, they're top of the chart. And so for a terminal cross on these Simmental Cimbra cross females, you get a animal that, there's plenty of milk for that animal to grow. And so with that weight per day of age, you just get a strong yearling to market.
To get his cattle through cooler seasons, John depends on his hay crop. That's why he's a believer in using John Deere machinery to get the job done when the weather window allows it.
What I like about the John Deere baler is its uniformity in the way it operates and creates that bale, and pretty operator friendly, and that's important. And much like all John Deere equipment, it's multiple operator friendly, and so that's very helpful.
When John goes out to the field with his 560M baler, that thing just works great, man. He can really make some good bales and get that hay up off the ground in a timely manner, because a lot of times, even this past week when we were putting up hay, it rained that next evening. And so there is no room for error. When it goes to the field, it has to work, no questions.
The quality of bale I get out of that 560M baler is probably as good as it's ever been. The integrity of the bale, if you store it outside, and the able to have the integrity, be able to preserve the forage inside.
John relies on the service team at Shoppa's Farm Supply. That gives him a level of comfort, knowing his John Deere gear is maintained and ready to go.
Having the tractor inspected every year keeps my downtime to a minimum. It also enhances the life of the tractor, therefore enhances the trade-in value.
I think John knows every one of my technicians back there, and all my technicians know him, his ranch, and most of his employees. Whenever we have a problem, they know who to call.
My relationship with Shoppa's Farm Supply has been increasingly more and more important every year. It is a relationship because it's so important if you buy a piece of equipment that you have a dealer that will back you, that will have the parts, the service, the know-how, the techs to service it.
What I like working with John and other customers of the community is I get to help those people where I came from. I grew up in the ag industry. I grew up farming and on a ranch, and I did not want to leave that. But now I'm the one that whenever they have a problem or an equipment need, they call.
Having a tractor and baler you can depend on is essential. That's especially true in a year when the weather seems to work against you. Even with all the challenges, John says he still loves carrying on the family ranching tradition.
To be 6th generation makes me really proud. Hopefully there's a 7th in due time.
Reporting from the Texas Gulf Coast, I'm Brad Bullough for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Still ahead on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll show you how John Deere equipment helps a Montana producer manage the challenges of his hay season. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Cattle producers across the country work hard to care for their animals and their land. The USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service is there to help. Find out how you can work with NRCS to develop a conservation plan for your operation. Find possible funding resources for implementing conservation practices, or get free expert advice on ways to improve your farm or ranch. Visit the website nrcs.usda.gov today.
If you're looking for the best in cattle industry news, information, and education, then don't miss NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Each week we cover important topics such as herd health and cattle handling, plus updates with congressional and industry leaders about today's top policy issues, and stories shot on location at cattle farms and ranches around the country. Don't miss NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen on RFD TV and on YouTube.
Time now for Weather Watch, brought to you by Ag Risk Advisors and WSR Insurance.
Matt Macon's here. It's time for a Weather Watch, and in today's we're going to be talking about the wet season. Off to a roaring start in some cases, especially some of the drought areas most prolific across the Central Plains. If you look at the past year, since last growing season through the start of this one, any dry areas are in the brown shades, and historically dry from eastern Nebraska, western Kansas, all the way through the panhandle of Texas into central and southern Texas. In some cases, over the past year, we are more than a foot behind average, but we've been tackling that with the kickoff of this wet season. What is the wet season for the central U.S.? As you go from May into June, and then in some cases lingering into July, August, and September, that's the wet season for these areas, from Mexico all the way up kind of the lee side of the Rockies, east side of the Rockies into the northern plains in Canada. In many cases, we're talking about half of what we get for the year. In some cases in Mexico, as you go later in the wet season, you get into the monsoon, more than 70% of that water every year falls kind of in this classic wet season. So it's a critical time of year to make up for those deficits, those foot deficits in some cases, and to see some progress being made. And we have seen some progress. This is just May. That's when things kind of got kicked off here. And we had quite a bit of wet weather for eastern parts of Wyoming, western Nebraska, eastern Colorado, western Kansas, down through the panhandle of Texas. And in a lot of cases, May alone was able to beat down some of the drought here. Remember, we were still in severe to exceptional drought in many of these same areas, but those have been dropping out because we've been picking up such heavy rainfall. In some cases for Colorado, there are locations that just from May into early June have already picked up what they would in a year. So their year, even if we shut the rain off now, the year is going to be wetter than average. Let's turn to June. This is precipitation through the airing of this video, and we have a lot of moisture out to the west, stretching down into Texas. And that's something pretty classic that you'll see in developing El Nino years. El Nino is grabbing attention here. It's grabbing a foothold on our atmosphere. And that's why the outlook keeps moisture right in those similar areas for June through August. Still, we have to worry about the drought over eastern Nebraska, eastern Kansas, and we'll have further details on those extremes in your next Weather Watch.
Weather Watch is brought to you by Ag Risk Advisors, with you no matter the weather. And by WSR Insurance, providing insurance solutions for more than a century. Visit their websites for more details.
What does it take to be successful in agriculture? Hard work and perseverance are essential, as well as the ability to adapt to a variety of challenges. Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Kate Maher introduces us to a third-generation producer from Montana whose relentless focus on quality is paying off in an area where raising cattle and hay is getting to be more difficult.
When it comes to raising cattle and growing hay, Lance DeHaan knows there's no better spot than the vast landscape of his native Gallatin Valley.
We run cattle from one end of the valley to the other. It's about a 40-mile distance. Same with our hay ground. It's a lot of highway miles for the equipment, a lot of trucking. There's mountains, there's rivers, there's everything in between. Lots of steep country, lots of flat country. We go from high rainfall areas to 10 miles away, some of the driest in the country. We get sometimes 2-3 feet of snow, lasts through the winter. So it's normal to feed 5-6 months out of the year. So we need quality hay to feed the cows through that cold, wet spell. Try to cut the hay early, get quality, relative feed value, protein, and sell a good marketable product to our customers as well as our cows.
In fact, Lance has a long list of repeat customers nationwide who buy his hay.
Lance does a great job with all of his cattle and his equipment and produces a great product. He's got an excellent name here at selling hay and really strives for the best quality all the time. I mean, he's looking out for the best cattle, he's looking out for the best hay to sell and to feed his cows.
We put up round bales, square bales, and throughout the season, we watch that drought monitor map, not only in Montana, but through the whole country. And depending where the areas are, the distance of trucking, the ranchers compared to feedlots and dairies, we pick those dry areas, and that's how we decide what we're gonna sell. Some years it's more square bales, some years we make a lot more round bales. We plan off of the demand areas. We get lots of snow here in Montana, so we like to have our hay yards planned ahead. We have our bales lined out accordingly, not only where we can plow the snow away, when the snow melts, we can get it to drain, not ruin the bales.
Lance relies on John Deere equipment, along with Joe Pruitt and the team at Frontline Ag Solutions, to help him produce the best quality hay, even in tough years.
Yeah, this is one of those years where the weather hasn't cooperated. We cut the hay on time, we do everything we should, but you can't beat Mother Nature some days. That's why we need good, dependable equipment. When it is time to go, we're ready to go. We run multiple rakes and multiple balers so we can have consistent hay in each field, and we can get the job done on time and do the best that Mother Nature allows. We switched to all John Deere tractors, balers, swather. The main reason is the dealership. They take care of us. When we need something, they come. They take care of us. We were able to go there. We haven't had that with other dealers, so we try to stay loyal to Frontline, and it works good for our operation.
We are fully dedicated to taking care of our customers with all of our service, whether it's a salesperson, a service technician, our parts professionals are there ready to help get you the parts you need. The customers driving John Deere, I feel, are a premium operator. They run the best of the best, and I'm proud to be a part of their operation through the John Deere equipment. Sure.
The competition for land in the rapidly developing valley brings even more challenges, and both Lance and Joe understand the importance of working together to continue keeping the land productive.
We live in a beautiful spot, and the secret's out. So we have an influx of people, we have an influx of tourists that generate people coming here, and the developments are taking over our nice black dirt that we were raising crops on. It's just really, it's a huge population increase.
John Deere, it's important to us. I mean, they take care of the dealerships, help take care of the community, and we need that. We lose more and more hay fields. So we need a good company and a good dealership to help us producers through it. Without good hay, there's not good cows. It takes everything and everybody working together to make everything work.
A lot of these customers I have that I take care of aren't really customers anymore. They're all my friends. So we all work together and make it all work. It takes a team.
Agriculture in this valley, it's important. Houses are moving in. We're getting more and more people, more and more pollution. We need the crops, we need the farmers, we need the cattle to keep the land healthy and prosperous.
In the Gallatin Valley of Montana, I'm Kate Maher reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Still ahead on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, you'll see how John Deere equipment is helping a South Dakota cattle producer put up high-quality hay. That story when we return.
Weeds will rob me of my investments. The weeds are not palatable to cows. They will not eat them, or if they do eat them, some of them may be toxic. So there's a return on investment by allowing there to be more grass available to be grazed by the cattle.
Are you concerned about the impact government policies could have on your cattle business? One way to make your voice heard in Washington is by joining NCBA. When you join, you'll be part of the nation's oldest and largest national cattle industry organization that has a professional team working in Washington, D.C. on issues that matter to cattle-producing families nationwide. Don't stay on the sidelines. Make your voice heard by joining NCBA today at the website ncba.org.
There's a lot of work to get done on farms and ranches across the country, and cattlemen and women need equipment that's reliable, versatile, and easy to use. Brian Baxter has a look at how John Deere equipment is helping a South Dakota operation maximize its hay production by getting the job done quicker and easier than ever before.
Ishmael Farms is a cow-calf and commercial hay operation located in South Dakota. Although John Ishmael started small, the business has grown steadily over the years.
I bought my first 32 head of bred heifers in December 1998 when I was a sophomore in high school, and helped Dad through the summer to help pay the feed bill in the wintertime. And got married in August of 2007. The wife moved up here from Bassett, Nebraska. We bought our first piece of land, and then we've just slowly added on since then.
Things are always busy around Ishmael Farms, but John knows one of the most important tasks is to make sure enough hay is cut, baled, and stored for winter feeding.
You never know how much hay you're gonna need. I mean, a couple years ago, we had a bad blizzard at Thanksgiving, and we basically fed cattle all winter long. So, I mean, you never know how much you're gonna need, but I mean, quality is everything. I mean, that's why you gotta get it put up right and in a timely fashion. So it's better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it.
John's learned over the years it's not just about the amount of hay, but the quality as well. Precipitation around harvest time has the potential to make or break a crop, and the window for cutting and baling hay is often very tight.
On a normal year, I mean, you hope for 3 cuttings of dry land, 4 cuttings irrigated, you know, I mean, but it all depends on Mother Nature. And sometimes you don't start till 10 o'clock at night. You might run till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning if the dew's right and the moisture's right, because time is money and everybody's out of time.
For years, the Ishmael family has relied on John Deere equipment to make haying easier and to control costs. Recently, John worked with Grossenberg Implement to purchase a new W235R self-propelled windrower for his family's operation.
We had a new John Deere 6 years ago, and we just thought, well, let's just update. You know, we didn't have any trouble with the other ones, but, you know, we cut a lot of hay. We'll cut 1,500 acres 3-4 times a year. So, I mean, it gets a lot of hours put on it. And they come out with a new model, so we were kind of excited about that and wanted to get one of the first ones.
Although the days can be long during harvest, the W235R's 6-cylinder engine can speed things up by powering through the toughest crops.
One machine, we can cut 15, 18 acres an hour, and, you know, in a day you can cut 1/4 to 200 acres a day. If you want to run 10, 12 miles an hour, if the field conditions are right, you can. One guy can do as much as 2 basically with this, you know. I mean, it's just, if the ground conditions are right, you know.
John says the cab offers great visibility and comfort, while the AutoTrack steering system gives him better accuracy and control.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to sit in that thing for 10, 12 hours a day, the last thing you want to do is steer all day. I mean, it's just, you do a better job, you can look around and make sure you're not leaving a strip or something that isn't plugged up. I mean, or you might see some other problem, you know, before it's a big problem.
John believes time saved in the field with his John Deere windrower translates into faster cutting, faster dry down, and a quicker path to getting hay baled and in the barn. Having the right support team is important too, especially during hay season. John Deere equipment is backed by a strong dealer network, which provides the service needed to keep equipment up and running.
It's not unheard of to get calls at 10, 11 o'clock at night for people broke down during haying season, that a belt on a windrower went out or something happened on the baler. So we have parts on hand, we have mobile technicians, we have trucks floating around to keep customers going and try to offer the best service that we possibly can.
They got after hours parts that you can call if you need a hose or something at 10 o'clock at night. Somebody will go make you one. I mean, if you got to keep rolling. So, and on Sundays, they'll open up and get you some. There's always going to be some little thing that's going to happen, and you just gotta be able to keep going.
John Deere offers haymaking equipment with a wide variety of features, sizes, and horsepower to fit any cattle operation.
I think a big thing with John Deere and the haymaking is they've been in the business for a long time. They've made good products, quality products for several years, whether you're looking for an economy level to a mid-spec level to a very quality premium level. We have multiple different hay lines that offer different price points and stuff because not everyone farms 20,000 acres or cuts 10,000 acres of hay. We need to have products for everybody, and John Deere's done a good job of providing those products.
And at Ishmael Farms, they count on their John Deere equipment to keep their operation going strong for today and for the future.
I mean, that's why you're out here doing what we do, is to pass it on to the next generation. You know, we have 5 kids, and each one of them, they've started acquiring cows, and they get pretty excited about going out and tagging their calves. It's just trying to keep them all involved. Hopefully they come back, you know. I mean, I think it's a great lifestyle.
Reporting from South Dakota, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Still ahead on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll show you how John Deere equipment is making a difference for one Tennessee cattle producer. That story when we return. Stay with us.
CattleCon 24 is marching onward to Orlando, January 31st to February 2nd, 2024. Have your say in the future of the industry, network with fellow producers, or connect with friendly faces. Plus, the NCBA trade show will be on site with over 385,000 square feet of the latest and greatest in the cattle business to help your operation stay competitive and sustainable. Learn more at convention.ncba.org.
Hay and livestock go hand in hand, and for many producers, making hay is a versatile and efficient way of getting your livestock the nutrition they need all year long. Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Brad Bulla has a look at a Tennessee operation that relies on John Deere equipment to help make high-quality hay for their cattle.
Kevin Loftus has plenty to do to keep himself busy. In addition to owning his own excavating company, Kevin is also the 3rd generation of his family to raise cattle in this part of Tennessee.
I've got Loftus Underground, which I work about 150 employees. We do fiber optic. This is my hobby, big hobby. We run black and red Angus cattle. We've got about 450 mama cows right now. I think we've got somewhere around 80 heifers we've kept back to start breeding in December and then in the spring. We usually sell in that 500 to 600 weight range. This year we've grown about 100 acres of corn silage and got it in a pit across the road. And we're going to try to top them on out and get them in the 700-800 weights and send them straight out to the feed yards.
One of the keys to success at Loftus Farms has been their hay program. They have several acres set aside just for producing high-quality feed for their cattle.
We do 2 cuttings, one in the spring and one in the fall. We go through 2,000, 2,200 rows. In the spring, we always do our haylage. We usually, I think we've wrapped about 700 or 800 rows of haylage. And we usually feed that to our heifers. But now this year, we're going to mix it with our silage and grind it.
One thing both of Kevin's businesses have in common is the need for quality equipment. This is especially important on the farm, since timing is everything when making hay, which is why Kevin uses a John Deere 560M when it's time to bale.
The efficiency and the speed of running the 560, I mean, we can You know, we roll 7, 8 miles an hour. Good tight roll, it keeps good.
To be a good food source for cattle, hay must also be carefully cured and stored to prevent rot and damage. Kevin is a firm believer in the value of net wrap when it comes to securing his bales.
There's two advantages to the net wrap. If you're having to haul it like we haul it, you know, some of the fields here, we try to keep all the cattle on their own land. We cut most of our hay on running ground and whatnot. So we may be hauling hay up to 15 miles, you know, back to the farm. Net wrap, you lose less going down the road. It's cleaner, it's neater on the trailer, it holds better. But the biggest thing is the speed. I can wrap, I gain a roll about every third roll because I'm not sitting waiting on that roller to tie.
Pulling the baler for Kevin is a John Deere 6155. The 6 Series utility tractors feature up to 250 horsepower and can handle the toughest jobs on any farm or ranch.
A lot of people say, why you cut with a tractor that big? I burn less fuel with that tractor than you will with a 100-horse tractor. It doesn't strain. We're in Tennessee, we're not on flat ground. We roll 5 or 6 rolls, and in my eyes, the bigger the roll, the better you are. That's less trips to the feed barn. But you better have something to handle it, especially on these hills. That's why we run the 6 Series tractor.
The 6000 Series also has a comfortable and convenient cab, and all the controls are laid out in a similar manner to make it easy for anyone to jump in the tractor and get right to work.
You know, our John Deeres, they're operator friendly. And I'm real big on that. I like to keep everything the same because when Brandon gets out of one and gets into another one, I don't want him having to hunt for what he's looking for.
If you get in one and you get in another one, all the controls are the same. You don't have to worry about hunting for new controls. All your motes are in the same spot. All your instruments are virtually the same. And that, if you got different employees, that's easier for one to jump in and out of the other one versus having to, you know, learn where everything is at again.
Any delay caused by an equipment breakdown can be devastating, but in Kevin's experience, the support team at the local John Deere dealership can get you back up and running quickly.
They're there for us 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. My salesman and the manager out there, they've always told me, it doesn't matter if we buy one tractor that year or don't buy anything for 5 years. We break down, I've got their cell phone numbers, I call them. I've had them go in on Saturday night and get me parts. And that means a lot to me. That's the same way in my business. I run John Deere equipment in my business. That's the reason.
John Deere is a good fit for our customers because the quality equipment and the service of the equipment. We're here locally. We have mobile mechanics that come out also. If you do have a problem, we can get to you on the farm or bring it into the shop. You know, need anything, just call me. Run something out to him if he needs it, if he's broke down the field, if we've got it in stock. I really, really want to help my customers. You know, sometimes you can't fix a problem over the phone, but if you got a good knowledge of the piece of equipment, you can troubleshoot a whole lot before you have to even go out.
So for Loftus Farms, it's clear. John Deere equipment and their John Deere dealer provide the quality, value, and support they need to succeed.
And I've got to have something I rely on, and I've always been able to rely on John Deere. I don't know how we get any more efficient without them, because I mean, everything runs strong and hard, and like I said, I keep going back to that because that is the truth.
Reporting from Bangham, Tennessee, I'm Brad Bullough for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll head to Missouri to see how one family is using John Deere equipment to get their chores done quicker and easier. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Did you know you can get reimbursed for attending cattle industry educational events? The Rancher Resilience Grant helps cattle producers attend valuable programs such as Cattlemen's College and Stockmanship and Stewardship training sessions. Local, state, and national events qualify for the grant, and successful applicants can receive money back to help cover registration fees and hotel expenses. To apply for the Rancher Resilience Grant, go to ncba.org and click on the Producer tab.
Biosecurity is becoming more and more important in the cattle industry.
Proper washout of your trailer. After hauling certain classes of cattle, changing classes or going to a different facility is all important. Changing your footwear, making sure that your clothing and your footwear is not contaminating different facilities as well. Using a side-by-side or a four-wheeler. All these things, when we go to different yards, different lots, make sure that they come back clean and not spreading disease. BQA, the right way is the only way.
The Beef Quality Assurance Program is funded by the Beef Checkoff.
For years, John Deere has added value to NCBA membership by offering exclusive discounts on things like lawn equipment and compact utility tractors. That's important because having the right tools and equipment makes any job go faster, which saves you both time and money. Brian Baxter takes us to Missouri for a look at a cow-calf operation that relies on John Deere equipment to help get their work done quickly and efficiently.
For as long as Mark Ingeman can remember, cattle have been a part of his life in eastern Missouri.
We've always had cattle ever since I was little. Never known anything different, honestly. So it's just a family tradition that I'd like to pass on down to my kids.
In addition to the cattle he owns with his wife and parents, Mark grows crops on 2,800 acres with his father and uncle. All the hay they raise is used as feed. Speed and performance are critical when it's time to put up hay, which is why John Deere has been the equipment of choice over the years for Mark's family. In fact, Mark recently had a chance to try out Deere's new 5125M utility tractor.
It's going very well. They were used to maybe bigger, heavier machinery, but I think we proved that the largest of the 5000 series is an option for kind of a part-time type of producer. Doesn't put a lot of hours on, but needs a powerful tractor, and I think this is fit the bill.
I'm used to 6,000 and 7,000 series tractors, so going to a 5 was a little daunting, but it's held up to the task so far. The 5125M is very spacious. For as small as the cab is, it is very spacious inside. I was really surprised with that. The panorama roof window is nice for seeing that up high and looking to see where you're going to stack that next bale. So it is helpful.
Mark is also a fan of the 5125's Power Quad Plus transmission, which makes it easy for the operator to find the right speed thanks to clutchless push-button shifting between gears.
It's very handy on that go of picking up a bale in the field to grabbing another gear with the hay cutter. You can it's a click of a button on to your right hand side, or well, actually there's 3 different spots to adjust gears in between the quad ranges, but it works really well. It's quick, it's reactive, and it's user friendly, honestly.
The 5125M also comes with auto-track guidance. This factory-installed option reduces implement overlap, which means fewer passes through the field.
Most think, well, this is ridiculous, you don't need auto-track for cutting hay, but in fact it does make you more productive, where you're putting in the consistent width and then the laying off lands, so keeps the tractor cutting hay instead of trying to cut little pie-shaped fields. No little swats across the field until you're completely done. That also, you can follow those swats, the perfect swats, with a rake, and you're raking hay onto a place where there's no hay, so it all gets turned, so you get that thorough drying and no wet spots that could cause mold in bales.
When they brought this out, I was like, really, we're going to use auto-track in a hayfield? This is going to be a little interesting in the hills of Missouri, but I found a few fields that works, and it worked out great.
With all of the hay he puts up, Mark is a believer in the value of using a disc mower conditioner to cut his crop.
We are currently pulling an S300 John Deere Moco with a flail impeller on the back. The quick change-out knives option is great this year for swapping out those knives easily enough and not having to get a ratchet out and a pry bar to hold that disc blade. And it's a great machine to utilize when I need to go out to cut hay. When you get done with the hayfield and it looks as good as your lawn, it's a great day for me.
Mark's local John Deere dealer can easily relate to the challenges he faces because the Seidenstricker family has their own Angus cattle operation as well. And over the years, Mark has seen that Deere continues to work hard for its customers even after the sale by offering support 7 days a week.
Our customers are usually out there in the evenings and weekends, so they rely on our support team to be there also. So we do have a dedicated service department, and we have protocols in place for weekend call out and parts availability on the weekends, which is truly important to our customers.
I would say whether it's cattle or equipment or whether it goes to even employees, it works. It has to work for us to for everybody to make a good fit, because we've got so many irons in the fire to feed, and it just has to work for us. I can never say enough about John Deere equipment. They are proven usually time and time again for us, and for our operation, for our herd, it works for us.
They work hard at Ingeman Farms to get the best performance out of their cattle, and they know John Deere equipment helps them achieve that goal. Reporting from Missouri, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Don't forget, John Deere is adding more value to your NCBA membership by offering special discounts on riding lawn equipment, compact utility tractors, and more. John Deere is just one of many companies offering exclusive deals. Become a member today by calling 866-233-3872 or visit the website ncba.org. Well, that wraps up our time for this week's special John Deere edition of Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again next week right here on RFD TV.